Hello everyone, this is Jace LeJeune from Gridiron Football. We have a semifinal edition of the Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week show. As you can clearly tell, usually have a sidekick by me who's an intern to help us out with the Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week, but it is final exam week for this semester in the fall. So I'm going to give the interns a little break and I'll just do the show solo today. And Tyler Barris, give a shout out to him for doing a good job helping me with the show throughout the whole season. We got 2 more shows left of the Gridiron Football Player of the Week in Louisiana. And it's been a fun time just looking at it over the course of the season. We had a lot of surprise players. We have some familiar faces, some familiar names. And at this time of year in the playoffs, we're going back to find out some of those familiar names that we've really seen emerge over the last couple of years. A lot of those guys are seniors, and really those best players emerge when the spotlight is its brightest, and those players have emerged and stepped up over the last couple of weeks in the playoffs. I believe so far throughout the playoffs, and look at the Louisiana Player of the Week, I think it's been every week there's been really a senior that has really taken that spot. You look at the last couple weeks. Last week it was P.J. Martin, who was a running back for De La Salle. Has had an excellent senior season for the De La Salle Cavaliers. The week before that, in the second round, was quarterback Blake Lambert, a C.E. Bird. And in the first round, it was Houghton quarterback that was also a senior in Colin Raines. So we've had some 5-stars from some highly recruited players like I believe North Caddo's receiver Marion Miller. He was a Gridiron Football Player of the Week. We had some defensive players. We even had a defensive lineman winner Player of the Week award. So it's been a quite variety of looking at different positions throughout the season. Because this is the semifinals, there are only a number of teams that are left to play in the playoffs. If you look, there's 8 brackets in Louisiana, both select and non-select. And if you add all the numbers up, there were about 16 games. So about 32 teams left in this whole playoffs. And, because of that, there are only a few amount of players that will be on this list this week, and understandably so. And I appreciate really the coaches and players for sending in their Player of the Week nominations. Usually we have about 20 or about 15 or usually around that number. But for this week, we have about 5 nominations, and it's perfect. It's like a top 5 performances for Louisiana. And we'll go over them, of course, so there won't be any honorable mentions. We won't have this huge list as we usually do. We have about 5 nominations this week, which is perfect. I mean, you get a top 5 performances from the semifinals, and that's what we'll go with. And we'll count down the top 5 performances of week 14 in the playoffs. Like I said, there's 15 weeks. There's 2 more weeks left, 2 more opportunities to grab a number 1 Player of the Week spot. We'll go with number 5 starting off, and that is Louisiana Christian, the linebacker Noah Lovelady. Noah Lovelady has been a great player over the years for Stephen Fitzhugh and the Louisiana Christian Eagles. He's been a veteran starter for the Eagles for a long time. He's been a first-team All-State, first-team All-District, first-team All-Parish player that has close to a 4.0 GPA. I mean, he's pretty much all you can really ask for in a player in this program for OCS. He's still actually got another year left. He's actually a junior. He's not a senior. The class of 2024. This is a player that Stephen Fitzhugh has won many state championships for OCS. OCS has really raved about during his tenure. And he had a great performance in the semifinal matchup against Ascension Catholic. A really good Ascension Catholic offense that I personally seen play this year. Lovelady, well, he wasn't giving a lot of love to the Bulldogs, I can tell you that for a fact. He had 14 tackles, 13 solo, 1 assist, had 1 TFL, and 2 interceptions, including 1 return for a touchdown, and also added another pass breakup, and a 42-14 win over the Bulldogs of Ascension Catholic. And now they will play in the Superdome again. Lafayette Christian lost last year in the state championship game to Southern Lab. Now they go back to, I guess like the scene of the crime, as I would have to say, and has a chance to make up for the loss last year and come up with a state championship win this year. They'll play against Vermilion Catholic in the Superdome. And we'll talk more about those matchups on the Road to the Dome show later this week. At number 4, you can probably say has been the MVP for any team throughout the entire playoffs so far. That is, at number 4, Brother Martin running back Tory Lambert. He's really carried this Crusaders team into a great playoff run. This kind of reminds me the year when Hahnville went to the state championship just a couple years ago, and they had their star running back Puka Williams, who just had a phenomenal playoff run. Well, Tory Lambert's doing the same thing, and just like Puka, Tory Lambert is going to send his talents to the next level. He's going to play running back at Texas State. He's made this Gridiron Football Player of the Week list plenty of times this year. Lambert had another workman-like performance, and he's had a lot of carries through the first 4-game stretch in these playoffs. 22 carries for 280 yards and 5 touchdowns and a 55-24 win over Karen Crow to send the Crusaders into the Division I Select State Championship title game to play against another Catholic League opponent, the John Curtis Pacers, a team that they are very familiar with in the Catholic League for the state championship. Tory Lambert is putting up some gaudy numbers, and he's been better and better in each and every game. He had a 5-touchdown game, over 280 yards. Last week he had over 300 yards. And then actually Tyler Barrows got a chance to see him play in the first game during this playoff run, and he had a huge game against Woodlawn too. So throughout these playoffs, he has had 138 carries for 954 yards and 12 touchdowns in a 4-game stretch. It went over Woodlawn, it went over St. Augustine, and then obviously this past week against Karen Crow. It's been a pretty impressive run for the Crusaders, and also add in Northwood as well earlier on. We go into the top 3. And man, I talked to Coach Neil Weiner earlier this year. We had a conversation. This guy reminds me a whole lot of one of the best players my dad coached back when he was at Terra High School, Paul Harris. And Paul Harris was just a warrior at Terra High School. I mean, he was just a gamer, a football player. This is what number 3, that's what he reminds me of. And that is Dunham quarterback Jackson House. Yep, and that is the son of LSU defensive coordinator Matt House. And like his dad, I mean, he's just a gamer. I mean, you can really tell he is a football guy. And he's really carried this Dunham offense all season long. He came in from Kansas, from the state of Kansas, where his dad was a coach as a linebackers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's been a great fit for what Neil Weiner and the Dunham Tigers are trying to fit here offensively for that program. In a huge game, and this is a big-time matchup in the Baton Rouge area. Will Lanphier was there for us, for Gridiron Football, to cover that one. And Jackson House, he just emerged. I mean, he was the guy against a really good U High defense. Keep in mind, this defense really shut out Division I quarterbacks and Ricky Collins and Arch Manning. But Jackson House, what he did was incredible. Against that defense was even more incredible. He had 431 yards of offense by himself. He scored 4 of the 5 team's touchdowns, had 31 carries for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also completed 6 passes for another 165 yards, getting the win over U High at home, and now has led the Tigers to their first state championship game appearance since 2004. You have to go back to 2004, the last time the Tigers had made the Superdome. This will be the first time that Neil Weiner will get a chance to coach in the Superdome as well. And a lot of it was put up on the back of Jackson House with that performance. And he brought down the house for sure at his home stadium against the Cubs. We go to number 2, to another quarterback that is a gamer, another running quarterback that's a great athlete and just a winner overall. And that is Letcher's quarterback, Dwayne Winfield. Lunch is his nickname, and he definitely brought his lunchbox to the game against West Louisiana on the road in St. Francisville. And just look at the stats. I mean, they're just gaudy enough. In the semifinal game between two really good quarterbacks, Winfield, we already talk a lot about him, but West Louisiana had himself a really good quarterback too in Joel Rogers. So these are two really good quarterbacks who were facing each other, and Winfield got the better of Joel Rogers in that game. The senior has really carried the Bulldogs this entire playoff run too, and you can make a case for him being really an MVP throughout the state in these playoffs. Had 46 carries, which is a whopping total for a quarterback. 46 carries, 335 yards, and scored all of the team's touchdowns in the 35-21 win over West Feliciana. He even broke his own record of 323 yards. To have that performance in the biggest game of his high school career was very impressive. And to have a record-setting performance doing it so made even more eye-opening. Only player in school history with multiple 300-yard rushing games with 3. He had 9 games this season with 5 or more touchdowns, and just make that another one for the quarterback they like to call lunch. And man, I mean, he definitely ate. He definitely ate that game with that big-time game against West Feliciana. 5 touchdowns, 335 yards, rushing, unbelievable. Gets her number 2 spot. So you might be asking yourself, Jace, I mean, what can possibly beat that performance at number 1? Well, I will tell you what is her number 1 performance of the week in week 14. And it came at perfect time. This is the second last week we're actually going to do this show, which is the Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week, because literally the state championships, that's this week coming up. But that saved the best performance of the entire season, I would have to say if we had to rank all 13, 14 number 1s this year, this is by far the best performance of the year that I've seen that has made our number 1 spot. And it's going to take a performance like that when you're beating Dwayne Winfield, who ran for 330 yards and 5 touchdowns as a quarterback, and Jackson House that had 430 yards of offense and 4 touchdowns against probably the best defense in the entire state. And U High, it's going to take a pretty special performance to do that, and fortunately, we got one. At number 1, our number 1 player for Gridiron Football, Louisiana Player of the Week, is LCA quarterback Juwan Johnson. Now, I saw Juwan Johnson before, and I thought he had a really good game last year when they played Newman. That was kind of like pretty much his coming out party as far as what kind of player that we would see these next couple of years when he was a sophomore last year. But this definitely, tops the cake when it comes to like top performances that I've seen him play. Just listen to these numbers. These are literal Madden numbers, what he put up in a semifinal win against Teurlings Catholic. He completed 25 of 36 passes for 473 yards, threw 6 touchdown passes, and then running the ball. That was just him throwing the football, by the way. Running the football. He had 24 carries for 176 yards and 3 more touchdowns. So if you're counting at home, that is a 9 touchdown performance in the semifinals against a team that they lost to this year in Teurlings Catholic. And boy, did Juwan Johnson really want his revenge in that football game. He showed 9 total touchdowns, and you add the numbers up, which I'm doing literally right now. He accounted for 473 plus 176, 649 total yards of offense, and counted pretty much for every point in that 68-46 win over Teurlings. I can't wait until that state championship game between LCA and St. Thomas More. It's literally going to be like an SEC CBS football game. It's going to be a 4-hour football game by the time that game is over with those two electrifying offenses. And man, Trev Falk, Coach Trev Falk sent me this one. I'm like, yeah, I think we found who our number 1 player was without even really looking at the rest of the list. So it was without a doubt. And this was like a week where we had some really good performances. Now we've only had 5, but this is a week where it's a good week to have 5 with the number 1 through number 5. We had a little bit of everything. We had a linebacker with a strong defense performance. We had Tory Lambert, who's really carried the Crusaders to the state championship. And we had 3 quarterbacks that done the same exact thing for their respective football teams. But wow, I mean, just an incredible performance by Juwan Johnson. I have to say, the most eye-opening performance that I've seen this year. Probably that one, and then Mangum's running back too earlier this year was pretty impressive in itself. So without doubt, I don't think there's any argument. Now we've had some arguments the last couple weeks of who would be number 1. Like, this guy could have been number 1. This guy could have been number 1. I think it's pretty straightforward this week. I think we got it right. I mean, anytime a quarterback accounts for 9 touchdowns, I don't think I can even do that in Madden if you gave me the chance to. I mean, that is unbelievable with Juwan Johnson, the numbers that he put up this week in order for his team, once again, to make the Dome. I think this will be the 6th straight year the Knights have made the state championship game. Unbelievable job Trev Falk and the Knights have done. So those are your top 5 performances. I hope you enjoyed. This is a much shorter show than we usually have. Usually I have Tyler Barrows here with me. But, you know, with exams going on and really there's a limited amount of games you really still have left. So there's only really limited opportunities that you have. And I appreciate the coaches that did take time, especially this week, because you're playing for a state championship. You're getting your team ready for the Superdome. Those teams will have short weeks of practice because the games start on Thursday. So we'll have our Road to the Dome show on Wednesday. Myself and Marcus will be breaking down all these state championship matchups, and we'll give our predictions on who will win the state championship games, the 8 state championship games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we will be there. So myself, Tyler Barrows, Andy Bryson, and then Billy Metcalf and Jason Sochier, all of us will be there to cover all 8 Louisiana High School Football State Championship games. I cannot wait. It was a great week in Atlanta for the SEC Championship game, covering the LSU Tigers. It's been a great season, a great first regular season covering the LSU Tigers. I can't wait for future years to come. But by the way, if you want to check out that recap and all of our photos that Billy Metcalf took, go to GridironFootballUSA.com for the recap of the SEC Championship game. Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs for winning the SEC Championship. Well, guys, this week we're back with the Chase with Jace with, even a special guest too. And we'll talk about that later on. That show will be on Wednesday. And then also the Road to the Dome show will be on Wednesday as well. And I'll try to set up an interview with Coach Falk and Juwan on that performance and being the number 1 performance of the week. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank again all the high school coaches for submitting their players of the week all season long. We cannot do this without your support and the fans as well. Everybody that's supported the show, liked the show, shared the show, please continue to do so. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot, and that's what we want to do. We want to get the word out to all these players. We want to recognize them for all the hard work that they do during the week with a show like this. And this is the first time we've done something like this for Gridiron Football. and we found to be a pretty good success in doing so this year, and it was really fun to do a show like this. And we have one more show left. No, we won't ask the coaches to send a nomination because we'll be at all 8 state championship games, so we'll rank probably the top 8 performances for all those 8 state championship games. Well, it's been fun. Hopefully y'all had as much fun as I did doing this show, and we have plenty of more shows left to go in the final week of the high school football season. Unbelievable that I'm saying that this is the last time this year Louisiana High School Football that we'll get to do this show, and then after that, after this week, we're going to talk about that Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. We'll be 100% full go towards that game in Orange Beach at the end of the year. Thank y'all guys for watching the show. Enjoy. If y'all going to the Superdome, hopefully I see y'all there. It's going to be a fun couple of days. I'm super excited seeing it. All these games, again, everybody joining each other in the Superdome again. That is great to see, having everybody there at one place, and I'm super pumped for it. Well, once again, hopefully you all enjoy. Congratulations to Jawan Johnson for being our Gridiron Football Week 14 Player of the Week, and really probably the top performance of the year that I've seen by far this season. Congratulations, Jawan, and good luck to LCA, Coach Trev Falk, and the Knights as they try to win another state championship in their dynasty run the last couple of seasons. Thank y'all guys, and good luck to everybody that's playing the Superdome this week, and we'll see y'all next week for the finale of the Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week show.